Yeah, I know I have been gone for a hot minute, but first, let me just say the gang is all here. We got Scully and Lizzie, and of course, you see Sachi. And we got a new character. Let me explain. Well, hello, my spooky friends. Yeah, let me tell you. The day after the official Halloween, my grown kids had a party here on my back porch. And yes, say hello. She wants her 5 minutes. Hi, Sachi. But anyway, I went out to the back porch last Sunday morning and it was a disaster. And I see this guy just pretty much like he is right now, just laid out there. I don't know where he came from. Miss Scullet has hit the road. I don't know where she's at. Scully ain't talking. So I kind of think they're on the outs right now. And this guy, he still hasn't sobered up all week. I'm just calling him Drunk Bob. I don't know who he is. But here we are. I'm telling you what, the cast of characters just keeps growing. Now, I do apologize for not being on last week. I had a migraine that started Sunday morning and it just got worse and worse. I had it about almost 6 days before all of the symptoms left. And so I'm trying to catch up. I didn't film or anything last week, as you know. Okay, I might be a little slow in November because I am going to try to do something different in December. Maybe something like the 12 days of spooky Christmas where I go on every day. I don't know, something to that effect. Y'all give me some ideas. But today we're going to look at some spooky TikToks, and I still have some letters and comments coming up, so we will do that if she can keep her tail out of my face. All right, let's jump in.
There's an old saying that says that once you have gone to bed and called it a night, that you should not leave your home after that. That if anybody were to text you and invite you out, it's essentially death inviting you out themselves. Unfortunately, Mario didn't listen. Mario's actually my friend's cousin, so this just recently happened. I also suggest that you stay till the end of the story because it has a crazy twist. So Mario was hanging out one night at home with his parents when he decided to go to bed. It was about 11 o'clock at night. He had already gone to bed when his phone goes off and it's one of his friends inviting him out. Apparently, this new club had just opened in town and they all were gonna meet over there. Mario decided to just get dressed and leave. He didn't even tell his parents. I don't even think his parents even realized that he had left. They had already gone to bed themselves. He goes to the club and he meets up with his friends. Once they get there, being that the club was new, there was a long line to get in. Mario and his friends are just kind of waiting in line when out of nowhere this random car drives by and just like shoots people. He does like a drive-by shooting. Mario's unfortunately one of the people that get hit. Now back at Mario's parents' house, his parents are already in bed when out of nowhere they get woken up because they hear loud banging coming from the front door. The mom very cautiously goes towards the front door. She's a little confused because she's not used to people coming at this time. Whoever's knocking sounds like they were in distress. She has this little door like right where the peephole is, so she can kind of open up and like get a good view of who it is. She opens the peephole, looks out, and sees Mario standing there, like frantically asking her to open the door. She says that even though it was dark out, she could tell that her son had like blood like coming from his forehead. She goes and opens the door as fast as she can. When she opens it, Mario's not there. It's complete silence. There's no one there. So what came to his mom's house was essentially his confused spirit running to the person that he feels the safest with, which is his mother. I share a lot of stories on here, but that one just really like hit me different. It's so incredibly sad. Even after we passed on, we still look for our comfort, like whoever makes us feel the safest, and that's who that was.
That one is so tragic. Um, wow. It reminds me of that movie, The Lovely Bones. You know, that's kind of what happens when you're watching the movie. You're not really sure that she passed on because she keeps running and she runs straight to her house, but it's different. It's, oh my gosh, that is horrifying. I've never heard that saying once prepare for bed, you shouldn't go back out. I mean, I'm honestly not gonna. I'm just gonna have to take out something crazy. Okay, yes, I know. She has been a little poo poo head. You've been a poo poo head all week long. Yes, you have. Don't look at them so innocent. Don't do it. Trust me when I say she has been on her game this week. But I wanted you to listen to this next video because it actually, now, I mean, it could be faked, but whether or not it is, this is truly what an Appalachian whistler sounds like. To me, it sounds real. So if it is fake, they did an awfully good job of it. Now, the thing that makes me think that this is fake is that kind of in the beginning of this video. It kind of sounds like somebody is out there messing with you. But, and the sounds of the whistler could be faked. But if they are, it is a very good rendition, like I said, of what a whistler sounds like because it kind of sounds like you think that someone you know is playing tricks on you. And if you're with somebody, a friend or whatever, you're yelling out into the darkness, like, hey, Tony, quit messing with me. I know it's you. Come on, come back in the house. You shouldn't be out there anyway. Stuff like that. That's what usually happens when you hear a whistler. You aren't at first creeped out by it unless you are totally alone and you know you're totally alone. Then it's like, I get to get in the house. But yeah, so if you have ever wondered, that is pretty daggum close to what a whistler sounds like. So now you know. But let's listen to another story.
Chat, if you've been watching my stuff, then you already know what this is about. I do videos about a couple of different things, but what I've been talking about lately is the supernatural activity that goes on my job. Look, I just wanted to tell you right quick. I don't know if I mentioned this, but I work in the historic district, so I already know that there's paranormal activity in the area. We've had paranormal experts come down and go to other areas of where I work, and they have said that there's lots of supernatural activity. So I'm not unfamiliar with that. I've talked about that I can't separate myself from it. You have to apologize. I'm looking around a lot right now because I'm paranoid because I'm still in the district and it's on a Saturday, so there's not much traffic down here. It's not too many people moving about, but I just left out of the office because I left something on my desk and I needed to pick it up because I need to be prepared for a meeting that I have next week. And so I didn't want to come down on Monday and then have to start prepping then. But I just feel a little uneasy, a little uncomfortable right now, just because while I was in the building, that heavy presence that's in there that I don't understand what it is, it was in there and it was following me, and I needed to stop by the restroom right quick and it was following me. And I kept noticing that one of the doors to one of the conference rooms just kept kind of, moving back and forth by itself. And it made me remember that my buddy, Willie, said that like 2 Friday nights ago, he and his lady were down. They were having a date and he thought about something that he had left in his office. And he came down to get it, or his building rather, and he had come down to get it. And he said that the doors were opening and closing by itself, and he said he just hurried up and got on up out of there. So yeah, I just wanted to get on here right quick and just kind of mention that I'm all right, I'm okay and I'm gonna be okay. But yeah, if you experience supernatural activity and it's something that bothers you, or you can't separate yourself from it, then you understand where I'm coming from. It's a lot.
So you're kind of in a pickle when you have a job that you know there's paranormal activity, but what are you gonna say? It's kind of like me, and I'm gonna tell you a story. This just happened on Thursday, I think. And I know I've had a migraine, but by Thursday my head wasn't hurting. All I had was I wanted to throw up, and I had the light sensitivity, but mostly it was the nausea. And it is can be very debilitating. If y'all have migraines, y'all know. And when I get a migraine like this, it'll last for a week. But anyway, I haven't had one this bad in a very long time. But I was coming up the stairs because at the jail where I work, the elevator was out, and it was a minor thing. We only have one elevator, but because of that, and y'all know I've said my jail's haunted. We've all, like, everybody there knows, we've all seen something. But I was coming up. We had some extra doorways to the stairwell open because we had to use the stairwell instead of keeping them shut because the elevator wasn't working yet. But as I was coming up and going in there, the stairwell was open, and I am not thinking anything. I'm just coming up to go in the office, and I see the stairwell, and I see this large black head in the stairwell. And it was like kind of pitch black. And I'm like, who's in the stairwell? And then so I go over there because then all of a sudden I see it pull back. And I'm like, who is hiding in the stairwell? I'm like, that's not okay. So I go over to the stairwell, and then I realized that where I saw it, it was like halfway up the wall. Like, there's literally nobody that is that tall. And I was like, oh, okay. That wasn't a person. That was one of the ghosts that I saw. Usually we do see a lot of black figures around there. That's pretty much, we don't ever see people like ghosts that look like people. We see black figures. The best way I can describe it, 'cause they're just solid black. But this one was so tall, up, halfway up the wall, and I realized, yeah, that was not a person. And then when I looked over and saw it, it zipped back behind the door where I couldn't see it until I walked over there. So, yeah, that was my scary experience this week. And we have last month I literally watched a hand come out from kind of like where we have a filing cabinet there, and I watched it reach from the filing cabinet towards the door, like kind of towards my coworker, but behind her it was just stretching out. And I'm just watching this hand stretch out, and I'm like, huh. And I was just watching. I wasn't screaming. I'm just literally watching it. But she sees my face and she's like, "What? What? What? I know you're seeing something." And I'm like, "I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Like, I don't want to scare you." I said, "But I'm literally just watching this disembodied hand just go right across it. It just keeps reaching." So, I'm like, "It's gone now. It's gone." But, so later that day, the medicine cart was behind her. We've got a flat, surface there. It doesn't move. Okay. It's heavy. It doesn't move. But right where that hand, I had seen it. Now, this is several hours after I saw the hand. The medicine cart just starts rolling away by itself. And I heard the wheels. I was looking at my computer in the other room, but I can look through the doorway and see it. I heard the wheels scraping. I just thought that she was moving it around. And then she said something about, then I realized that she wasn't, because she was doing something at her desk. I was doing something at mine. And I looked up and the cart is rolling away. And she's like, "I didn't touch it." I'm like, "Well, that's where the hand was earlier." So I don't know. I guess it's just pushing the cart around. But, just like this guy. Sorry. That's a whole nother story, right? Um, but just like this guy, sometimes you work where there's paranormal activity. What are you supposed to do? Like, you're just, well, okay. It is what it is. And sometimes I can understand him saying, "I wanted to go down there now, get it over with." Yeah. I think we're probably used to it, but you can still have a jump scare. You never know. Let me put it down in the comments. Would you continue to work at a place that was haunted, or would that be your 86 out the door? Let me know. I find it interesting. It's not a brain job. But that's just me. Look what I do.
This is the craziest Appalachian story I have ever heard. So Casey grew up in the Appalachian Mountains, and she was always taught, if you see it, no you didn't. If you hear it, no you didn't. So one day when she was 17 years old, her and her cousin Lexi finally convinced their parents to go camping with each other. Now Lexi had invited her other friend, but she said that she couldn't make it. So they are like, all right, whatever. So they pack everything up and they start driving to the woods. Now Lacey and Lexi have been camping before. This is not their first time, and nothing suspicious has ever happened before. So they weren't really worried about it. So nothing happens the first night. Well, the second night, she's sleeping while she's laying in bed, and she hears footsteps around the tent. Now she's hearing it, but she's not thinking anything of it. She kind of just was like, okay, I'm going to ignore it. So she slept through it. Same thing on the second night. Same thing on the third night. But on the fourth night, something happened. She starts to hear the footsteps again, right? But she's like, okay, maybe it's my cousin. So she looks next to her. Her cousin is right next to her. It's not her cousin. Now this is not the time to be going outside, because around there, this is like the witching hour, she said. So she looks outside of the tent and she sees this shadow, and she's thinking that must just be a trick of the mind. Like, I'm just seeing things. She's obviously not checking because she doesn't want this to turn out like a horror movie. So she's like, okay, I'm just going to put the blankets over my face and I'm going to go back to sleep. But then she starts to hear this clanking sound, and she's like, what is that? Because nothing in their vicinity would make that clanking sound. Everything that they had put away in a separate tent. So she's just repeating in her head over and over again. If you see it, no you didn't. If you hear it, no you didn't. But then the clanking is getting louder and louder, like more deliberate, almost like this thing wanted her to open the tent and look at it. But she's like, there's no way I'm doing that. So she just closes her eyes really, really tight until she hears a faint Lacey. And it sounded just like her cousin. But something inside of her was like, that is not my cousin. And if she needs me, she will wake me up. Plus, she's laying right next to her. So she ignores it until the calm Lacey turns into this loud, panicking, almost screeching sound. But whatever this is still saying Lacey. It's just screeching it. Now, she said the way that this sounded was really weird because it sounded loud to her, but she almost knew it wasn't loud. Almost like it was in her head, but it was clear as day to her, if that makes sense. So with her eyes still closed because she's absolutely terrified at this point, she like somewhat turns to her cousin and she pats like where her sleeping bag is to see if she's there, and sure enough her cousin is there. So now she's super freaked out and she's repeating the phrase in her head over and over again. If you see it, no you didn't. If you hear it, no you didn't. Well, it eventually faded and it was silent once again, so she falls asleep. But then she wakes up to her cousin staring at her. So Lacey kind of like sits up because she's like, what's going on? What's wrong? And her cousin is just acting like everything is fine, like everything is normal. So Lacey just kind of shrugs it off and is like, maybe she's trying to scare me. I guess her and her cousin like scared each other a lot, and so she was like, she didn't get me this time, like I'm just going back to sleep. The next day goes on as normal. They have a good time and she chooses not to say anything because she doesn't want to bring it into existence until later on that night they start telling each other horror stories. So her cousin's telling a story when suddenly her voice lowers and she's like, did you hear that last night? And she froze because she thought that she was asleep. In fact, she knew that she was asleep. She felt her body not moving. She could hear her like shallow breathing, and she just knew she was asleep. So she's like, well, I thought you were asleep. What did you hear? And her cousin's like, I heard wind chimes and like drumming, almost like there was a ritual being performed. And she said, like, I think I was dreaming, but it didn't feel like a dream. I mean, I was wide awake, but I couldn't move my body. So was it sleep paralysis? She said she had absolutely no control of her body, but that she felt Lacey tapping her. So she wasn't asleep. So Lacey is like, well, something weird happened to me last night too. And she starts telling her cousin what happened to her. But before she can even get the sentence finished, they start hearing footsteps all around them. I say all around them. It sounded like there was a group of people marching towards them from all directions. So Lacey is frozen in fear, and her cousin are just sitting there not knowing what to do. And then her cousin looks at her and they both just jump up and they bolt out of there. And this is where it gets effing crazy. They're running until all of a sudden they have to stop because right in front of them is Lexi's friend, who initially could not come with them, told them that she was not coming, and she's standing right in front of them smiling at them. All she says is, I'm sorry I'm late to the campsite, but I'm finally here. So Lacey turns to her cousin turns to her, and her cousin just shakes her head aggressively like she's terrified of her own friend. Lacey also said that there was something just uncanny about her and she couldn't put her finger on it, but suddenly she speaks again and she says, why are you guys running? And she takes a step closer to them. So Lexi and Lacey take a step back. And as soon as they do this, her friend's smile starts contorting. Like bending and waving as if someone was drawing a painting. Her voice got super high pitched. Like she almost couldn't even hear her speaking anymore. It was so high pitched. And then Lacey's ears start bleeding. And Lexi's friend just starts screaming like this crazy scream. And her face starts like contorting as if she's in pain. And she's screaming like she's in pain. mean? And so Lacey and Lexi look at each other and just start running as fast as they can. As they're running, this is fucking crazy. So they can still hear the marching all around them, and she turns around and she sees Lexi's friend essentially on all twos because she's running with one arm and one leg, and her face is cocked sideways. Her face is not even a face. She has multiple mouths, multiple ears, but the mouths and ears are on her face. She said it was the most unsettling thing she has ever seen. So Lacey and Lexi are running as fast as it was. She said it was the fastest she's ever ran in her entire life, and they don't know where they're going. They have no devices on them whatsoever, and they're now lost in the forest. And they look around, and the trees were like extending. She said that they were extending up from like 100 feet in the air, and she said that she would have noticed more details, but she was running for her life, so she doesn't know exactly what was going on there. So they continue to run, and they're running until finally she hears this like honking sound and then these bright lights, and she notices that it's a car. The car stopped inches in front of them. It slammed on their brakes, and as soon as this happened, they obviously stopped and they look around, and that thing that was chasing them was gone. They both just collapsed on the floor crying. For all they knew, this stranger could have been someone who was going to kidnap them, and they just did not care at this point. It wasn't a kidnapper though. It was some sweet lady who had kids in the car, and she actually took them to her house so that they could call their parents. She said that they told the lady the story, and she just kind of looked at them like they were absolutely insane, and that their stuff is probably still out there somewhere in the woods because they did not go back to get that ever. She also said that this experience fundamentally made her leave that area. She actually moved away. And she said that she wants everybody to know, if you ever go to the Appalachian Mountains, if you see it, no you didn't. If you hear it, no you didn't. And if you feel it, no you didn't. Wasn't that story wild? I got that and I was reading it and I was like, what is going on here? That is crazy to me. Her friend running on like two legs freaked me out. And having like the ears and the mouths on the face, I have trypophobia, and that just makes me think of that. And I cannot handle it. I cannot handle thinking about it. I would be so angry if I saw that just because of that. I don't know how scared I'd be at that point.
This is Kaja Spooky Stories, I guess KAJSA. I'll put this as Kaja Spooky Stories. So I guess she's got some more. I'll look for some of these too for some other ones. That was absolutely horrifying. I'm going to tell you, the whole thing about the friend being there and looking at and right and contorting, look, no, I think that would have probably done me in for being in the woods, maybe forever. And I love the woods. That is insane. I don't know. What do y'all think? That actually would make a great scary movie. Somebody ought to do that one. What is it about Appalachia that's coming up so much in people's feeds? It's like that is the in thing is scary Appalachia. And I don't know why, because it's always been scary. Didn't y'all know that? Is this new information? Not for us who live here. Like I've said before, they're unspoken things that you hear, things that you know, weird things that happen. People didn't even talk about it. There's things I've observed, and I guess some people do talk about it, but I've experienced a lot of stuff in the woods, and weirdness, but you kind of just know. It's not like anybody sits you down and tells you this. Now, a little bit at a time, your grandparents or somebody's grandparents might say, don't go into the woods after dark. But what they tell you, you kind of think they're just trying to scare you. You think they're just pulling your leg because they don't want you to get lost in the woods at night and stuff like that. Because there are things like bears and bobcats and mountain lions and stuff. So you think that's the reason, but not always. All right, we have one more story.
Running whenever you sense danger in the Appalachian Mountains is actually the worst thing you can do. Whether you believe in the folklore or not, running from an animal doesn't always end the way you want it to. Welcome to day 11 out of 13 of our Appalachian series, where we count down to Halloween by talking all about Appalachian folklore, Appalachian legends, Appalachian rules, telling some stories here and there, and even watching some clips.
Today I want to talk about just a straight up rule, and that is if you see something strange, do not run from it, and if you hear something strange, do not run from it. Now, am I telling you to stand there like a sitting duck and wait for it to get you? No, I'm not. Get out of the area, but do it calmly. Act as if your next course of action, regardless, was to get out of that area and then do it. The only way I think that you should completely forget this rule is if you are actively being chased. Like if you see something coming at you or if you hear something coming at you, run. Try to fight back or run. Do something, whether it be an animal or whatever. You can't just stand there. You know what I mean? But hearing or seeing something strange, calmly get out of the area. It's fine. Essentially what happens, whether it be folklore related or animal related, is running initiates that predator-prey drive, and you are going to get chased. You are just simply going to get chased, and we're trying to avoid that. Now, there was an instance, several instances, where I have ran. I'm not going to lie to you, it has happened. It probably will happen again. In fight or flight, I either choose freeze or flight, and in these instances, I chose flight. Now, in my defense, the first time that it happened to me was not my decision, it was my dog's. So let me tell you guys that story, and this will tell you exactly why I don't think you should run. So this happened in broad daylight one morning, and I know if you guys are not new here, you know this story because it actually kickstarted me into talking about Appalachian folklore. One morning in broad daylight, I wake up to go take my dog outside to use the bathroom. I live on a busy street, and I live around schools, so it was a weekday, it was like 8 or 9 in the morning. School traffic's crazy. So I noticed that it's windy, the neighbor's wind chime hits really hard, and then everything goes silent. The car's gone. Everything's gone. It's deafeningly quiet in the middle of the day. I notice my dog is staring off into the woods, her hair is raised, and before I can process what happens, I feel my arm being yanked out of its socket because my dog is running towards my door. So I have to follow her because we're connected by a leash. My front door, that I believe was locked, but it was at the very least shut, slings wide open. We run inside, I shut the door behind me, and as soon as I do, something hits that door so hard, pictures on my wall fly off. Gone. I immediately turn and look out of my peephole because I'm at least going to see something running away, but from how hard it hit my door, I'm probably going to see it laying on the ground. There was nothing there. And I don't think if I had gotten inside when I did, that I would have been okay. So whatever opened the door for me, thank you very much. But also, I don't know if that would have happened if I hadn't ran. So don't run. Running whenever you sense danger in the Appalachian Mountains is actually the worst thing you can do. Whether you believe in the folklore or not.
So, what do you think about that? I agree. Try to stay calm and act like this was what you were planning to do all along. Of course, stay safe. All right, that's all I've got for today. So, Scully and this guy, I don't know what to call him. I'm just calling him, like I said, Drunk Bob. If you got any better ideas, let me know. He doesn't have much of a personality. No, not like Scully, but there he is. We're going to call it a night. I hope you have a wonderful rest of the week, next week. I will see you soon. Whatever you do, be careful if you're out in Appalachia. Well, actually, be careful everywhere. But remember to just stay spooky. Bye bye.